Recently, Azim Premji, the founder of IT major Wipro, made headlines for his controversial claim that unless we address the water problem of Bangalore, we may have to evacuate the IT city within the next 10 years. Wipro, of course, later clarified this statement, saying that the intention was to highlight the issue and not take it literally. But when it's coming from one of the tallest industry captains, who is also a Bangalorean for years now, you just can't ignore it. How serious is Bangalore's water shortage, and what can we do to reverse the damage? To debate solutions with me, I'm joined by C. Prabhakar, Director, Gopalan Enterprises, and Ravi Kumar S., Program Director, Bangalore Political Action Committee. Gentlemen, thank you so much for joining me today. Let's start by laying down the facts first. Given Bangalore's geographical elevation, the city has to pump its water by 100 kilometers from the Kaveri River. There are estimates that call Bangalore's water the costliest in all of India and Asia. The city spends a fortune procuring water and then wastes another fortune losing this precious water due to a poor distribution network. 40% of Bangalore is dependent on groundwater, according to some estimates, and the Central Groundwater Board in 2013 had stated in a report that all 4 taluks that come under Bangalore Urban District are overexploited in terms of their groundwater table. Mr. Prabhakar, coming to you first. For a corporate leader like Azim Premji to talk about Bangalore's water shortage says a lot about how serious the matter is on ground. Now, peripheral areas of Bangalore are rapidly developing. A lot of projects have mushroomed here, but all these locations, these residential and commercial hubs, are water deficient and quite dependent on groundwater. How is the real estate industry tackling this challenge?
See, Vasudha, rapid urbanization and industrialization in Bangalore the last decade has really depleted the groundwater, and that really shows. But it has affected certain areas. Some areas like north, some areas east zone are predominantly affected by this. But the rainfall, annual rainfall itself is 900 mm. Annual rainfall is only 900 mm. And 3.5 times the water is drawn more than what is received to recharge it. So that is a kind of mismatch in demand and supply. So, but what there are certain lacunae, which we can improve now, where the first and foremost is the water supply itself. We see around 30 to 35% of leakages in the pipeline itself, which is a major thing which we can improve on. And overall, the distribution system is something which we can improve. And the awareness about water shortage is not very predominant at the grassroots level, though a lot of small policies have been laid out by the government, but not very effective enough. What we need today is a very comprehensive and integrated action plan for common man and the industry to get involved.
Ravi, would you say that the distribution network in Bengaluru, that's a big challenge? There are the leakages that happen is because that it's not a cohesive system of distributing water to all the new areas and to Bangalore core?
Vasudha, I would say that most of the lines, that is pipelines laid was almost 100 years ago, 100 to 150 years ago. And they have become corroded and they are leaking, one. And it's not just the leakage, it's also the water which is not built, which is illegal connections, which is also affecting the Bangalore distinct water supply. And what I would say is Bangalore, even though government BWC made it mandatory to have all the residential buildings to have rainwater harvesting, rooftop rainwater harvesting, unfortunately, I believe less than 44 lakh people have houses or properties have rainwater harvesting. And these 44,000 properties which have rainwater harvesting, it's on the paper. How many of them are really working? How many of them are maintaining it? How many of them are really putting the water system to rainwater harvesting system to use? Is a big question. That is one of the major problems. The next problem I would say is Pollution Control Board mandates all the apartments to have their STPs. And many of the apartments across the outskirts area in Bangalore where I visited, they have STP plants, they are treating their water. Unfortunately, they don't know how to use it. Less than 20% of the water that they treat are being used. More than 80% they're letting out into the drains. There should be a mechanism where a person can be able to access this treated water for their industrial use. Unfortunately, this is not happening. So these are some of the gaps I think government has to look in.
Mr. Prabhakar, Ravi spoke about water harvesting and how it's being promoted in Bengaluru to tackle its water shortage, but its uptake is very poor and enforcement is quite weak. What do you think, what would you like from the government or from the municipal authorities, any incentives or any policy support so that even private developers, the industry can join in the effort and encourage rainwater harvesting adoption?
See, as such, PCB has made it mandatory for STP and recycled water to be used in the apartments. Larger properties, larger buildings, have been able to use it effectively because it works well for them, and they bring in that dual flush system where the STP is treated, is used in the toilet flush and gardening and the basement cleaning and whatnot. But where it is really affected is the smaller houses and smaller buildings are not able to effectively use this. That is where we feel the problem. The large properties are able to use this system well. And the PCB is quite strict now. The policies are quite very strict laid out. Without a PCB NOC, you don't get occupation certificate. So those things are in line. The problem is at the grassroots level, the small houses, where the rainwater harvesting system has not been well laid out, as Ravi put in, has not been effectively used. We are not able to use that rainwater, and these are some things which we have to really take it seriously. And we have seen success stories in other states. So why not? Why is that the government not looking at this in a very serious manner? And the community also has to look in to this to see how well effectively we can use this.
Okay, Ravi. Would you agree, is rainwater harvesting the only solution, or can it cater to the entire demand of Bangalore urban areas, or are there any other vibrant solutions in a city like Bangalore? What else can we do? Bangalore has a number of lakes, but those have unfortunately dried up. Are there any other solutions that will see more rapid uptake? Do we need to rethink our town planning maybe?
Yeah, definitely, Vasudha. As you know, Bangalore's population is ever growing, but unfortunately our water supply is not growing in a proportionate manner. We have a cap where we can draw a limited units of water from Kaveri, because of Kaveri Tribunal Act, and then this thing. And I would say there are 4 levels of intervention that is really required. One is mandatorily enforce rainwater harvesting as per the BWCSB law, which is unfortunately not happening. Number 2 is ensure that the newly formed layouts and the apartment complexes have dual line system where they are supplied the treated water for non-potable purposes. And number 3 is, I would say that the STPs which are being set up in the most apartment complexes are running properly, and there is an effective mechanism to go check and ensure that it's properly functioning. Number 4, I would say, is lake regeneration, which has to happen at a rapid pace. Unfortunately, as we know, Bangalore was known as city of 1,000 lakes. Unfortunately, we have less than 100 lakes today, and most of the lakes are filled with sewage water. Because our sewage system, we are treating less than 30% of the sewage that we generate in the city. 70% of the sewage is entering and depositing in our lakes, and it's also contaminating our groundwater table. As Sir said, most of the groundwater that we are right now using, according to Department of Mines and Geology and KCB, the study is done, more than 50% of our groundwater is contaminated. Either it's contaminated bacteriologically or chemically contaminated.
Right.
So I think these 4...
Yeah, contamination of groundwater is of course the bigger challenge that Bangalore is now facing along with its water shortage. C. Prabhakar, Gopalan Enterprises and Ravi Kumar S. Of Bangalore Political Action Committee. That is all the time we have today. Thank you so much for joining us on this discussion.